Lord.
Jonathan,
Yes, sir.
single rim hoops, right?
To be in my report tonight.
That's
That's big news for the kids in town.
Listen, I don't know the nuances of that. That's why, we all rely. You guys coach, I mean, so, those little details make a big difference, right?
Oh, definitely. Those rims look nice. I'm telling you, those are nice.
Yeah, it's just beautiful down there.
The old rims were the metal double rims, so they were two loops around. These one are singles. So yeah.
Now I have something to blame why I had such a terrible shot. I can blame it on the old
Correct.
courts.
Yeah, you could blame it on those double rims.
What's the height of the rims?
John, for you, you could probably adjust to maybe 8 feet. That'd be good for you.
No, Italians can't jump that high.
Mr. Seeger, have you heard from Mr. Friedlander?
Manny's been trying to get it on since 3:30.
Pat, you're muted if you're talking. I don't know if you heard me. I don't know if you heard from Mr. Friedlander.
I am working with him right now.
Okay, thank you.
There's a shock.
I think it's a bad Wi-Fi signal at the Denny's.
Wow.
Actually, where he lives, the Wi-Fi in his house is terrible. It's bad.
Yeah.
At Denny's.
Hey, Chrissy,
Yeah.
can you check caller number 2, unmute it to see if that's Manning?
Sure.
Thank you.
I hear my phone now.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yep. That would be Manny.
Can you switch him to a panelist, please?
Let me see.
I got to call it.
Chrissy, I mean, it's not letting him be a panelist, so you're just gonna have to keep him. I guess I'll keep him on the phone and he can tell me when he wants to talk and you can undo it. But he can't hear anything.
I
Ugh.
hear you.
And I
You
can't
hear-
make him a panelist either.
Yeah, I know.
Isn't
Manning,
there-
you hear me? Because I'm on my phone.
Oh,
Pat,
okay.
Pat, isn't there a regular dial-in number he could use?
That's what he's using, and it's only put him there.
Okay.
Yeah, but why can't he hear us?
God.
That I can't tell you.
So what do I do?
Manny, can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you on my phone.
Oh, so he hears us, Pat.
Okay. All right. Manning, so you hear
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
All right. So don't hang up. When you want to talk,
Just leave
Well,
Let's
it
see.
I'm on you. You're on my cell and I'm on my house phone.
Is that the echo?
yeah, but
Yeah.
you're gonna have to text me when you want to talk so I can tell them.
Oh, they won't be able to hear me?
Not until they unmute you.
No, leave him unmuted. If he gets too chatty, I'll have him muted.
Hey, I'll keep my mouth shut tonight.
Okay,
I'm not
thank you.
happy.
The only person, Mr. Kelly, I didn't know if I can't see him. I see his name. I can't actually see him though.
Yeah, Joe, I won't interrupt anybody.
There he
But
is.
it's my
Okay, it's 6:35 p.m. I'm going to call the meeting to order. Please join me in the flag salute. I pledge
allegiance to the flag
of the
United States of America
and to the
to the
republic
republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. At this time, I'd like to take a moment of silence to remember the service and sacrifice of the armed service members who protect our nations and the first responders who protect our neighborhoods. Clerk, please take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly?
Here.
Councilmember Quinn?
Here.
Councilmember Friedlander?
here.
Councilmember Kritz?
Here.
Councilmember Salberg?
Here.
Councilmember Brooks?
Here.
Councilmember Noon?
Here.
Vice President Sackett?
Here.
President
I hear you.
Jackson?
Here. Please be advised that all electronic remote meetings of the Township Council held on WebEx are recorded. All members of the public will be provided with the opportunity to speak. During any public hearing or open to the public sections of the meeting, the Township Clerk will unmute each member of the public and ask if they wish to speak. As per Rockaway Township Code 2-5.14, any person desiring to address the council shall first seek recognition by the presiding officer, and upon recognition by the chair, the person shall give their name and address for the record. Unless further time is granted by the council, they shall limit their statement to 5 minutes. Statements shall be addressed to the council as a body and not to any member thereof. A councilman shall not direct any question to a speaker addressing the council except through the presiding officer. In addition to speaking on the record during council meetings, members of the public may submit questions and comments to the council by emailing questions@rockawaytownship.org by the end of the open to public session. This meeting was advertised in the Daily Record and the Star Ledger, the official newspapers for the Township of Rockaway, on April 10th, 2021. Notice was posted on the official bulletin boards of Rockaway Township. Before we get to the next agenda item, I think, Mr. Mayor, you had something you wanted to cover?
I did. Thank you, Council President. I invited our fire director here tonight. I just wanted to give a brief update as to the status of the fire department, some things that are going on, the equipment. We had some questions at the last meeting, and I'll address those. I want to make it brief, so I wanted to have Jeff Heinzelman go in the beginning of the meeting so he can get it off and get on with what he needs to do tonight. So I invited him here, and I had this conversation with Mr. Jackson and Mr. Sackett. What we're going to try to do on certain things, certain meetings, when it's appropriate, get some of our department heads here, give updates, where we're at, if there's any sort of problems or issues. I want to try to get them addressed. I'm really extending myself. Once again, all personnel issues, the day-to-day operations fall under the auspice, under the control of the mayor, whoever sits in that seat. But what I wanted to do is, I do know that you guys budget and you fund and approve equipment and things that get spent. So I wanted to extend myself over to the council a little bit, just so you can see where money's going in terms of what good it's doing for the town. So I'm going to turn it over to Jeff. I'm going to keep it brief. I don't want this to turn into a question and answer. I just want to give an update. If there's any questions that require research or detail, any of the council people can feel free to email me those questions and I'll respond. And then if they want to put those out to the public at the next meeting, they can, do whatever they feel is sufficient in their reports. So, Jeff, go ahead.
Council President, can I recognize real quick beforehand?
You're not recognized, Mr. Kelly. Go ahead, Mr. Heitzman. Mr. Kelly, you're not recognized. Go ahead, Mr. Heitzman.
Thank you, Council President. So on behalf of the mayor, I'd like to give a brief update on the state of the fire department. We do have adequate funding to complete maintenance on our fire engines. The requests for monies are always met, and our DPW staff does a fine job of addressing concerns that the chiefs and I bring to their attention and work through those goals. If there's an issue on the fleet that requires some specialty, such as the pumps, those are handled by third-party vendors who specialize in that area of expertise on the fire engines. At my vantage point, I think our fleet and our fire trucks are ready to respond to the call of duty when needed. A critical piece of the firehouses are generators that provide standby power in times of emergency or power failure. Those pieces of equipment are owned by the township, and they are handled through our water utility for regular maintenance, which are run, to my understanding, quarterly and before any storm is anticipated to hit the area. And we do have a service contract which allows for minor and major service to be done on those pieces of equipment. And to reflect on the 2021 budget, Chief Aragona, Deputy Chief Russo, and myself presented to Ms. Palmieri and Ms. Seeger our needs for 2021. They were met with no resistance. And we are now working towards a capital purchase of a new pumper to put in Company 5 White Meadow Lake, and also a mule to put in Marcella Company 3. I have no complaints about the support from the council or from administration for the fire department's efforts. I'd like to have Chief Aragona speak to a call update for 2021.
As of April 30th, we ran 271 runs, that's fire and EMS, 107 fire and 164 EMS calls. We've run since the first of the year to April 30th. So our staff is doing well, responding, no issues. We've been going out and doing mutual aid to other towns surrounding us with need that they have with the rescue and the air truck. So we've been doing good.
Thank you for your time, Council President, Mayor Puzio.
Thank you.
Jeff, I just want you to elaborate a little bit about our equipment in terms of, we had a meeting this week to address some issues. And I just want to say that I'm proud of the equipment. From what Jeff told me, there's some surrounding towns who I'll leave nameless, who actually are a little jealous in terms of some of the equipment that we have on hand. If you want to go into that a little bit, Jeff, if you know, toot Rockaway Township's horn or the fire department's horn, you can do that.
Sure. We're the only town in Morris County that has its own air truck. The majority of towns rely on Morris County to provide their air truck. So that's a huge resource that Rockaway Township owns and provides a invaluable resource to neighboring towns when they have structure fires. Quite often they're calling Rockaway Township to bring the air truck out of Hibernia's firehouse. We've got two tankers out of Hibernia and Marcella, and a third one in Green Pond. So we've got plenty of water that we can bring to areas that don't have a large water supply. Again, another benefit that Rockaway Township owns that many surrounding towns do not have the fortunate opportunity to possess. Mount Hope's ladder truck is a tower ladder. I believe it's a 100-foot tower. That is probably one of the most sought after pieces of equipment that's needed. So most of our neighboring towns don't really have as much fire equipment as Rockaway Township possesses. And I'd be remiss to mention that Rockaway Township has 120 proud volunteers that answer the call of duty, and we only have those men and women that proudly serve for fire and EMS needs in the township. And those men and women that take time out of their day and their family are probably the most invaluable resource the township can claim. And I thank them for their efforts and their dedication to the township.
Thank you, Mr. Heitzman and Chief Aragona. I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedules.
Mr. Jackson, I have a motion. Mr. Jackson, I have a motion.
Sure, you can make a motion.
At this time, I'm going to make a motion to allow the council members to ask real quick questions, maybe 3 minutes each council member.
Would anybody like to second that motion?
Nobody wants to ask them any questions?
No, as the mayor said, you could reach out to him directly and you could bring it up during the next meeting.
Another motion, Mr. Jackson, please?
Sure, go ahead, make a motion.
My motion is to have the administration provide me with each contract that the township has with regard to the maintenance, service, and repair of the generators within the township, as well as the fire departments.
Anybody like to second that motion? No, I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to make a motion to remove item 12 from our agenda. Anybody want to second that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Second that.
Mr. Quinn, okay. Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Do I have discussion, Mr.
No, I sent out an email earlier today and you sent an email back. I think the council's very aware. So
you took off my
clerk, you can
discussion
take the
for
roll
the fire
call,
department.
clerk.
Is that what you did, Mr. Jackson?
Clerk, you could take the roll call, please.
Jackson, are you
Councilmember
Mr. Kelly, you're out of order. Mr. Kelly, you're out of order. Stop speaking.
You're removing what I put on
You're
the
out of
agenda?
order, Mr.
Councilmember
Kelly.
Kelly.
Is this relation to Mrs.?
Mr. Kelly, you're out of order. Vote yes, no, or abstain. This is a vote.
I'm confirming with the clerk what they're making a motion on.
To remove item 12, from the agenda.
Is this the agenda that I added on to the most
Yes.
recent agenda?
Yes,
So you're removing what I put on the agenda.
removing item 12 from the agenda.
Is that what I put on the agenda, Mr. Jackson?
Oh, no, why don't you tell everybody, Mr. Kelly?
I will, thank you. What I put on the agenda.
So,
was-
no, this isn't for you to discuss what you put, everybody can read it. Clerk, take the roll call. If Mr. Kelly doesn't vote, we'll count him as a no vote.
You can't count me for a no. I want clarification.
Councilmember Kelly.
I want clarification. If this is
Go
what
on
you're
to the next
approving, what I
person,
put on-
clerk. Go on to the
Mr.
next
Clerk,
person, clerk. You're out of
Councilmember
order,
Quinn.
Mr. Kelly.
You are
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Can you hear me now? Because I
Yes.
got back on Wi-Fi. Okay, yes.
Councilmember Crix.
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Noon. Councilmember Noon.
Yes.
Vice President Sackett.
Yes.
President Jackson.
Yes. Mr. Kelly, do you wish to vote yes, no, or abstain?
Mr. Jackson, I still need to know what we're
So,
voting.
Mr. Yachafano, how do we count that then? As an abstention if he refuses to vote?
I didn't refuse to vote. I'm looking for clarification prior to
You don't
voting.
need a clarification. It's
Yes,
very
I do.
simple.
I asked you. The clerk is
Mr.
my secretary.
Yachafano, how do
as
we
well as
count
yours.
you're out of order, Mr. Kelly.
clerk-
Stop talking, please.
This is
Mr.
my
Yachafano?
My recommendation, considering the votes already, would be to count it as an abstention.
Okay, so we have 8
No,
yeses and
no.
1 abstention. Item 12 is removed from the
So no,
agenda.
Mr. Jackson.
Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes from May 11th, 2021, regular mini minutes. A motion,
So moved. Seconded.
Second.
Mr. Quinn and Mr. Friedlander.
Discussion, Mr. President?
No. Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Councilmember Kelly.
No.
Councilmember Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Critz.
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Noon.
Yes.
Vice President Sackett.
Yes.
President Jackson.
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no, motion carries. Next, we have ordinances to adopt. We have O 21-23, an ordinance amending chapter 54 entitled Land Use and Development of the Code of the Township of Rockaway to permit medical and recreational cannabis facilities. Can I have a motion?
Council President, before we do the motion, I
Motion.
have a
I'll
procedural
make the
question.
motion.
A quick
Who made the
procedural
motion?
question.
Mr. Sackett?
I'll
Second.
second.
I have a
Okay,
procedural
Mr.
question.
Sackett, Mr. Friedlander. Mrs. Seeger, has anybody asked the question about this item online on the email?
Not at this time.
Okay, Chrissy, you can open up to the public.
Al Cerullo.
Nothing, thank you.
Tim Waters.
No comment, thank you.
Lily Sweet.
No comment, thank you.
Lisa Salberg.
No comment, thank you.
Patricia Degnan.
No comment, thank you.
Patrick Egan.
No comment, thank you.
Susan Royak.
You're unmuted already. Didn't hit touch. I want you.
Susan Royak.
It. Say it again. No comment, thank you.
William Degnan.
No comment, thank you.
Okay, I'll allow 5 minutes of council discussion.
Does anybody, if you could just ask Mrs. Peterson not to mute me as I'm asking questions? Thank you. If anybody wants to ask before me, I would be willing to put my time on the end. Is there any other questions from somebody else before me? Simple yes or no would be great.
Go ahead, Mr. Kelly.
I guess that's a no. How you doing, Mr. Novak?
I'm doing all right, Mr. Kelly. How are you?
I'm doing fine, thank you. I was trying to ask originally that about procedural. If we were to make a motion after the ordinance was just a motion and seconded to adopt it, and here we are now during discussions of this, can we make a motion while this is open, Mrs. Clipperton?
Mr.
Mrs.
Achafano?
Clipperton?
I'm not sure. I'm asking the township attorney if he could weigh in.
The motion to adopt the ordinance has been made and seconded. The protocol would be to proceed with a vote unless a motion is made to amend the ordinance. That motion to amend the ordinance would have to be evaluated as substantive or non-substantive, but the motion could be voted on if it's seconded and voted affirmatively on in this process.
And Mr. Yachafano, is it only pertain to only a motion to amend? Are there other motions that could be made after the motion to adopt this ordinance?
Mr. Kelly, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It's real simple, Mr. Yachafano. I'll repeat it again. You just said that about a motion to amend. Could there be another motion, whether the table, whether the move, whether the rescind the motion to adopt? Could that be taking place too during this motion?
Mr. Kelly, there are hypothetically a number of motions that could be made.
Okay.
Make the motion and I'll rule on it.
You made one hypothetical. I figured there might be a couple others. That's all. On section 3, on page 3 of the ordinance that we have, Mr. Novak, we have a on O, indoor cannabis consumption areas. You have that in front of you right now?
I do, yes.
Thank you. Number 6, where it says there shall be a minimum setback of 200 feet from any indoor cannabis consumption area to any public or private school, house of worship, child care center, daycare center, or residential building as measured from building to building. Now, also in this ordinance, we have that the minimum distance between these types of facilities to another building is the maximum height doubled. And in this case, it's 50 feet is the maximum height. So doubling that would be 100 feet of minimal distance between two buildings. Would that be accurate?
That is correct. I believe that will refer to the standards that are existing within the PED and the I district.
So in that case, there could be somebody that would be within that 100-foot minimum of a location of some building in the I district, which is also residential. We do have some up north in the Hibernia area that could be operating a legal daycare center, which would not be 200 feet, but yet it would be more than 100 feet from building to building. Is there a conflicting component of that as far as distance? Because I'm a little concerned with the 200 feet. I just don't know if there's a way that we can increase that distance, especially as it pertains to schools, churches, worship, synagogues, child center, daycare center, residential building. I mean, it could be a whole host of things that we have here. Is there anything unlawful for us to increase that distance from 200 to, let's say, 500?
I don't think there would be anything unlawful. The reason that 200 was picked was, from my understanding, that was some of the regulations that are in place right now for liquor stores. Just as a quick clarification, though, that 50-foot or twice or 1.5 times the building regulation that you were referring to would be the distance between the building and the side lot line or a rear lot line. This would be a slightly different regulation, which would be 200 feet measured building to building, so it would actually bypass any type of lot line.
Okay. But does anything bar us as a municipality under the municipal land use law to increase the 200 foot to a bigger distance?
No, nothing that I know of.
Then do you have any concerns of it being 200 feet where, if 500 would be too far away or 300 feet would be too far away?
One of the things, if I was to do a change like that I would want to take a look at is really looking at properties along the Green Pond Road corridor. The reason that we had selected the 200-foot setback building to building was because a lot of those properties along Green Pond Road, while they extend a long way, do actually front along residential properties in another municipality. So if we were to extend it to 250, 300 plus, whatever it might be, I would just want to do a sort of buffer analysis, see what type of footprint that would leave us in these properties.
So would it be fair to say, based on an answer, that we haven't done any analysis of anything extending it over 200 feet?
I have not done an analysis of over 200 feet now.
And are you aware, I mean, the way this has been brought up, since we've never had this in Rockaway and it's only something new in New Jersey, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, has there been any other ordinances that we've reviewed in other neighboring towns or the 39 municipalities within Morris County, alone?
Not in any neighboring municipalities or in Morris County. I did look around New Jersey. I looked very briefly at Hoboken during the medical cannabis ordinance development, but not familiar with many other municipalities in Morris County that are actually going forward with this.
So, I mean, obviously, we're much different of an area than Hoboken and Rockaway, especially the way the area is up in the northern end of it in Green Pond Road corridor, even up off of Maple and Dudak. There's so many residential properties that are far less of 200 feet. And those buildings in an I district, not knowing if they're pre-existing non-conforming. I mean, one was a mushroom farm at one time. And I don't know if there'd be an issues there. So how long would it take for us to maybe do a little bit of an analysis of the 200 feet to kind of increase that, whether it be 300, 400, or 500 feet? Would it take a long time for you or your firm to do that?
If it's something that the council was interested in, it's something that I can make sure we get done by the time of the next council meeting.
Okay, so
well, before I preface that, the next council meeting is June, beginning of June, I think.
Yeah.
What date? June 5th. I want to say June 15th, but
It's June 15th.
Yeah.
I had June 15th in the back of my head for some reason. It's something that I could get done before June 15th.
And what would that cost?
I'm sorry?
What would that cost?
Mr. Jackson, I actually have the floor still, if I could.
You don't have the floor any longer. You've been talking for 6 minutes. I said we had a 5-minute limit. You've been talking for 7 minutes, actually. So you no longer have the floor. You're no longer recognized. So what would be the cost to do that?
That I wouldn't be able to calculate that right now. I'd have to take a look at it.
Do you feel comfortable with the 200 feet?
I do. It's something that right now we have in our medical cannabis ordinance, 200 feet. If it's something that the council doesn't feel comfortable with, it's something that we can always change going forward as well. The priority with this ordinance is to make sure that we get it adopted before August.
Right.
Mr. Novak, I'm going to make a motion, Mr. Jackson.
Go ahead.
Make a motion. One, I think we should make a motion to table this ordinance for further review and have the Burgess Group look at the potential of the increasing distances. I mean, you're worried about cost, and I'm worried about the child and children and daycare centers and worship centers for churches.
Vote for Kelly. Vote for Kelly, 2021. Does anybody want to second Mr. Kelly's motion?
None of you have care about children.
Okay.
You're telling me?
No, we all care about it, and you make your false statements again.
That's
You're
out of
ridiculous.
line.
Clerk, you can take the roll call.
Please mute him.
Yeah, clerk, take the roll call,
motion,
please.
Mr. Jackson. I have another motion, Mr. Jackson.
Go ahead, make your motion.
Can we put the definition of unlawful under number 7? Is that something on the criminal conduct, or is that something?
Anybody want to second that motion? Okay, clerk, you can take the roll call.
I have another motion, Mr. Jackson.
No, clerk, take the roll call,
I have
please.
another motion,
Clerk,
Mr.
take
Jackson.
You got to wait till after the roll call.
I have.
Clerk, take the roll call, please.
Mrs.
You're out of order.
Clipperton, I have
You're
a
out of
motion,
order.
Mrs. Clipperton, I
Is
have
this
a
what you're
motion.
going to do? Is this your behavior, what you're going to do? Every
There's a
meeting now,
motion on the
you're going to
floor.
take up time?
Mr. Jackson, if you let me
waste everybody's
finish it, I would be
time.
done in 5 minutes.
Make your motion, Mr. Kelly.
Council President,
Yeah,
the problem is that Mr. Kelly is making repetitive motion
I
upon
know.
motion without permitting the vote to proceed on his first motion.
so clerk, take the roll call on the motion that's been seconded.
Councilmember Kelly.
Go ahead to the next person.
What's this motion for, Ms. Clipperton?
To adopt ordinance 20.
O-21-23.
Thank you.
I have another motion to make on this ordinance, Mr. Jackson.
Make your motion, Mr. Kelly.
On the C section of security on page 7 of this ordinance, when it deals with the security protocols. If the police chief can provide us with a report of the protocols and security that's related to this ordinance for those businesses to follow.
Does anybody want to second Mr. Kelly's motion? No, clerk, take the roll call on the ordinance, please.
Nobody's worried about security.
We all are, Mr. Kelly.
You
We're
show
just
it.
not obsessed like you. We're not obsessive like you. Clerk, please
I'm
take the
worried
roll
about
call.
security.
Councilmember Kelly.
No.
Councilmember Quinn.
Yes, and I am concerned with security and kids, so yes.
Shows it, Mr. Quinn.
Councilmember Friedlander.
You just voted yes.
Nobody interrupt.
Kelly, please.
Nobody interrupts him. He's a child. What can you do? Keep going, clerk, please.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yeah, I just waited for everybody to, yes.
Councilmember Kritz.
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks.
Yes.
Councilmember Noon.
Yes.
Vice President Sackett.
Yes.
President Jackson.
Yes, that's 8 yeses, 1 no. Motion carries. Next is open to the public. Ms. Seeger, have we gotten any emails?
No, Council President.
Okay. Go ahead, Chrissy. You can start going through the public.
Al Cerullo.
Nothing, thank you.
Jim Waters.
I have no serious questions. Thank you.
Lily Sweet.
Yes, this weekend is Memorial Day weekend. I wish everybody a very pleasant and safe trip. If they go anywhere or in your home, be as safe as well. And we should all remember the sacrifice men and women have given to this country, all those that are missing in action as well. And we should always remember them, and we should never have any other wars. Thank you.
Amen to that, Lil. Take care.
Ms. Sweet, would you mind stating your address for the record, please?
I'm sorry, yes. 1 Oakland Avenue, Rockaway.
Thank you. Lisa Salberg.
Lisa Salberg, 10 Bergen Hill, in the middle of picking up my husband's birthday present. I wanted to wish my husband a happy birthday tomorrow. Thank you.
Happy birthday, Adam.
Patricia Dagnan.
No comment, thank you.
You okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Easy.
Patrick Egan.
No comments, thank you.
Susan Royak.
No, thank you.
William Degnan.
No comment, thank you.
And I believe that's it.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, Mrs. Seeger, have we gotten any emails?
Not that I know of.
Okay, next we have ordinances introduced, O-21-24. Ordinance amending Chapter 7, Article 2 of the revised ordinance of the Township of Rockaway in order to add new ordinance Section 64, establishing a Title 39 enforcement plan for the regulation of parking, standing, ingress, egress, and the flow of traffic on private property owned by U.S. Corporation, Home Corporation, DBA Lennar, identified on the official tax map of Rockaway Township as Block 22401, Lot 1.01, more commonly known as Coventry Park at Rockaway, aka The Hills, Green Pond Road, County Road 513. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second. Clerk, take the roll call. That's Mr. Quinn and Mr. Friedlander.
Councilmember Kelly.
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn.
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander.
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz.
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg.
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next is our consent agenda. We have R 21-91, resolution authorizing public fireworks display for White Meadow Lake Property Owners Association. Can I have a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Friedlander, I can hear who seconded.
Second it, Tucker Kelly.
Mr. Kelly. Mr. Friedlander, Mr. Kelly, clerk, can you take the roll call?
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yeah.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson,
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Motion carries. Next, we have appointments. We have a council appointment. We have a firefighter report, Edward Karen. Can I have a motion? Mr. Kelly?
Second.
Was that Mr. Kritz?
Yes.
Yep. So Mr. Kelly and Mr. Kritz. Anybody have anything they want to say? Okay, clerk, can you take the roll call?
Councilmember Kelly,
Yes.
Councilmember Quinn,
Yes.
Councilmember Friedlander,
Yes.
Councilmember Kritz,
Yes.
Councilmember Salberg,
Yes.
Councilmember Brooks,
Yes.
Councilmember Noon,
Yes.
Vice President Sackett,
Yes.
President Jackson.
Yes, that's 9 yeses. Congratulations, Mr. Karen, and thank you for your service to Rockaway Township. Next, we have old business, new business, and reports. I'll let Mr. Salberg go first. 15 minutes for each council member.
You skipped,
Thank you, Council President.
you skipped over discussion, Mr. President. B. You
What
only
are you
removed
talking about?
A.
What?
You only removed A. You only removed.
No,
one.
I removed item 12. Stop it. Oh my goodness. Go ahead, Mr. Salberg.
All right, thank you. And with that, so thank you. Last week, I mentioned during my reports that I thought it was time to review and to reinforce the definitions and the responsibilities of council members with old business, new business, and council reports. The town clerk was kind enough to resend me a memo that was sent on February 23rd, 2021, council practices and procedures from our council president. I'm just going to go to the second page, 2 of 3. And I'm just going to read off what is the responsibility of council members as to what old business, new business, and council reports should be. Old business, the category is defined as prior official incomplete business of the council and acting on ordinances, resolutions, and motions. That's it. New business, this category is defined as matters that were on current agenda or matters that are likely to be addressed at an upcoming meeting. Again, this category shall include official business directly related to the council's legislative and or spending functions. And council reports, this category is defined as council members relating publicly what they have been doing as a member of the council in addition to their attendance at council meetings, for example, participation in council committees, participation in outside activities related to their office, etc. Those are the roles and responsibilities of new business, old business, and reports. I think the memo from the council president is very clear as to what's expected of old business, new business, and reports. What is not expected is for council members using the time to play gotcha politics by asking questions during council meetings, which could easily be answered if asked ahead of time, and allowing the administration the time to research and report back to the council meeting. This would inform both the council and our residents of old and new business. But the purpose of these questions have really nothing to do with the betterment of our town.
Relax, Mr.
Old business, I don't
Stop
recall ever
interrupting.
mentioning you in this,
You're out of
Mr.
order.
Kelly. Wondering why
You're
you
out of
felt
order,
the need
Mr.
to
Kelly.
speak up. Yeah, I find that interesting. I didn't mention your name,
You're out
Councilman.
of order, Mr. Kelly.
I'll
You're
wait
out
till
of
he's
order,
thank you
Mr.
for
Kelly.
muting him. Old business, new business, and reports is also not a time to personally attack members of the administration, the council, or residents, nor is it a time for nonstop interruptions, complete disregard for others' time, inappropriate comments, and making unverified and sometimes outright false statements. Action like this by any member of the council is unconscionable and places the administration, the council, and residents in an untenable position. So I would ask that the council president please resend this memo to all parties as a reminder of what this time is to be effectively used for. That's all I wanted to say about that. As far as old business, no new business, but for reports, and this is our final meeting before the June 8th elections, and I urge all residents of Rockaway, exercise your constitutional rights of vote. It matters deeply to our town, and again, we hope for full participation from all residents. Of course, Memorial Day is coming, and of course, Lily Sweet did say it very appropriately. Please, in between the picnics and the time off, please remember that it is about our fallen heroes, about those that sacrificed all so we could have the opportunity to vote and have these meetings and to hold open government. So again, please take some time to observe Memorial Day, and please take fellow council members, my words to heart about the meanings of what we're trying to accomplish in these proceedings. Thank you.
Well said, Ms. Salberg. Thank you. Mr. Brooks?
Thank you, guys. Just no old business for me. The only thing that I have today is to once again remember this upcoming Memorial Day, and looking forward to getting the parade back in the Rockaway Township and honoring those from Rockaway Township at the memorial for the gun salute. I'm looking forward to that day that we can do it again. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Quinn?
Thank you. As everybody has said, Memorial Day, please remember all those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. Say a prayer for them, and please be safe and stay healthy. As far as my attendance at meetings, the planning board meeting, I did by phone. We went over a couple of programs that are coming into town. We're not done with them yet, and I'll report once we have finished those. The rec committee is meeting, I believe, this Tuesday coming, and we will talk about what transpired at that meeting at the next meeting. Other than that, I want to thank the firemen and the EMS people who serve this town. They are phenomenal, and I am very proud that we have such great equipment for these people to work with. It makes their job 100% better. God bless them and their families, because their families let them go do their job, and they give up a lot. So I appreciate them very much. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Quinn. Mr. Kelly?
I got a couple of things. Let's just start off with the reports. The vegetation, the county had come just recently to clean up the vegetation along Green Pond Road in the Hibernia area and some of the side roads that are egress or ingress off of the county road that are there. So Mr. D'Agostino, Mr. St. John, they do a phenomenal job with the county on just a whole host of things between snow plowing and clearing of vegetation and tree removal with shade tree. I participated in the weed harvesting in Lake Telemark over the weekend. We had an aquatic piece of equipment that came on there that had a cutter and a front bucket area and screen to pick up the debris, and we were able to take it off onto shore and dump it into a container to remove accordingly. I also want to mention about the Memorial Day events, and I think I had asked in the past on a couple of things that we should maybe put the names of the fallen soldiers that are Rockaway residents or were Rockaway residents on a website. I asked that last year at this time. I also asked it during Veterans Day, and it'd be really nice if we can recognize those who had made the ultimate sacrifice for the freedom that we have, which is a debt that we cannot repay ever. Just an appreciation for those men and women, and then the family members of those men and women of those veterans that had served and paid the ultimate price. The township's webpage, if we can update that for some of the events that are taking place. We have the Company 5 in White Meadow Lake. for their venue that they're going to have, Fox Hills. We also have the event that's going to be taking place in Rockaway Borough. Our township page just before the meeting didn't have all that updated. So I hope that's something that we can put on there and address so people would know where to go and when to go. Just a follow-up. I know that the last meeting, Mrs. Siegert had said that the POA in White Meadow Lake is not a not-for-profit. They are a 501c7. So they are a not-for-profit end of it. And Mr. Gilardi had some concerns about some of the things that are taking place over there with the special events permit. Following up, I mean, Mr. Jackson, you removed some of the items that I wish to talk about for discussion that I requested to be on the agenda. And for the generator maintenance and service repair, I think the biggest concern that was taking place was that the generators weren't working when in need, especially in the last couple of months. It was an inquiry I had made last year when we had some issues where the generators didn't follow up in the town hall. And it's been a constant issue over in Hibernia. And there was also a request for repair over in Mount Hope on the 26th of April. Ironically, after I made this request for the items to be on the agenda, the one over in Mount Hope was repaired this morning by just throwing in a battery and topping off the oils. And it wasn't done by a mechanic or a licensed or professional generator service or repair individual or a company. So I would like to know if we actually have current contracts that are active right now, because I don't remember voting on them, but it may have been below the threshold, so the QPA could have had those contracts. Can you confirm, or could you have the administration, better yet, Mr. Yachafano, Town Council?
Yes, Mr. Kelly.
Have you reviewed any contracts, or do we have any approved contracts for generator maintenance that's currently in place right now?
I can't answer that question at this time.
So we just had all this put up. The mayor was talking about the generators. You were focusing on my request on the agenda all day today and yesterday, and you don't know whether or not we have contracts existing for our generators for the 5 companies in the fire department. Is that what you're saying?
Mr. Kelly, if I was focusing on your request for the agenda, that would have been a horrible waste of my time, which is not unusual.
Well, Mr. Yachafano, I'm sure you would have billed us for that time no matter what. But speaking of time, Mr. Yachafano, Mr. Puzio talked about refunds that you give us or don't charge us for certain things. And I always review the billing every single month. And I've only saw a couple of occasions where Mr. Perrone would not charge for some small conversation with the mayor. But what I noticed is that you and your attorney partner charge each other to review each other's emails and have phone conversations. Is there a reason for that? You actually bill the taxpayers to read your partner's email.
Mr. Kelly, your inquiry could be made by email or letter to the administration.
Or it can be made verbal at a meeting.
Yes, which is not appropriate considering the subject
Where does it say
of
in
the
the
memo.
code it's not appropriate to ask you
I'll
a question,
finish when you
Counselor?
allow me to finish, Mr. Kelly. Which is not appropriate considering the memo that Mr. Solberg just read.
And let's address the
It's not
memo.
a question and answer.
Let's address the memo, Mr. Yachafano. The memo that you're stating that was written back on February.
Mr. Kelly, I have no further, I'm not answering any of your questions.
I have the floor, Mr. Mayor. I have the floor. It's my time. Thank you.
The administration will not be responding to this.
Sure. Well, then I'll just say it anyway.
It's
Mr.
one
Mayor, you haven't been recognized,
after
Mr.
another.
Mayor. You have not been
Mr. Mayor,
recognized, Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, just let him finish.
So anyways, the memo that was given by Mr. Jackson, first of all, he can put his own thoughts and opinion that are on there. But this council, and I'm not aware of any vote because I didn't see it in the minutes at any given time, that we voted to amend our code under Chapter 2 of the Administrative Code when it resolves around meetings. So anything that Mr. Jackson wishes to say or have his definition doesn't mean anything because it hasn't been codified. So he can say whatever he wants. He can pick and choose what he wants as far as a report means, old business, new business. You just can't just go off the cuff and say it because I want to. There's no I want you moment here with Mr. Jackson because he's the council president. There's protocol. There has not been an ordinance amended to add these revisions that Mr. Salberg read. Now, I agree that Mr. Salberg read what Mr. Jackson wrote, but these aren't enforceable. Provide definitions in the code so we all can understand what it is, not just what Mr. Jackson feels like. And I wouldn't trust any opinion that came from Mr. Jackson dealing with definitions because he's got personal animosity against one individual who happens to ask a lot of questions. The other thing when it comes to old business is Bowlbyville. And Mr. Freelander, this is no joke. I do appreciate your time and what you put into the Bowlbyville situation that we have here. And I know it's probably uncomfortable because you have a sitting council member, Mr. Quinn, who hasn't paid for that sewer assessment for the benefit that he receives from his home and the improvements that he's done on that property. But Mr. Yachafano, I had asked you a while back if you had reviewed the minutes from 10/25 of 16. You said no. I had the clerk. She gave me the minutes. She gave me the recording of that. And at that meeting back in 2016, you said that the list of property owners identified under the sewer assessment was completed. You thanked Mr. Sheard, you thanked Mr. Lutz and Mr. Burak, and that now you were moving forward for the assessment for those properties of the value of the benefit. It wasn't going to be overnight, but it was going to be something done pretty quickly. Here we are 5 years later. Mr. Sackett appointed members on the Board of Commissioners, haven't done anything. This in 2019, we haven't been able to move forward. We had an unfortunate situation with Mr. Burak passing, who was a wealth of information. There's no doubt that that information has been conveyed to you, whether verbally or in writing, and we're having issues. We even have the clerk stating that she's sending out correspondence to some of the members who just recently respond to that inquiry 6 months later. Now, we had a meeting that Mr. Freelander had indicated that had taken place for the meeting to take place on the 26th of May. Said it's been noticed, scheduled. And now we don't have a meeting that was there, and it was never noticed. That's $655,000. And the only person that's made money on this, Ms. Yachafano, is your firm. How much more time do you think it's going to take? Our superintendent of the border, Mr. Garabrandt, is leaving in another month. The replacement that you guys prepared and hired 4 months prior to the our budget to give them a salary has now tapped out of that position and is no longer going to be filling the role of the vacancy of Mr. Garabrandt. So who do we resort to now to get information and move forward? Because none of those individuals are the assessment company to do the assessment of that assessed line. So what are we going to do, Mr. Yachafano? How much more time is it going to take to actually hire the appraisal company to appraise those properties? That's next, isn't it? My own town attorney is not going to address a question from a council member. Is that what's happening here, Mr. Yachafano? Mrs. Clipperton, are you having difficulties from some of the members of the commissioners to respond to your inquiries? What do we need to do in order to expedite this lengthy process that's going on? There are currently members in White Meadow Lake that are paying towards an assessment for a sewer line installed, but we seem to be really lethargic, ironically, because one council member is on that line and hasn't paid. Let's be honest. Nobody's going to answer anything. None whatsoever. I hope everybody has a wonderful Memorial Day weekend. I can't thank those who had provided their lives to give me the freedom of what I have, especially allowing me to exercise my First Amendment right. That's it.
Ms. Noon?
Yes, just wanted to wish everyone a happy and safe Memorial Day weekend, and to remember our fallen heroes and everyone who gave their lives for our freedoms. And Pops, it did their soft opening today. They started their soft opening. They are going to have a grand opening, and will keep us updated as to when that will be. And that's it.
Thank you. Mr. Kritz?
Thanks. I want to thank Adam for kind of reiterating the council rules and decorum. And I want to talk about, the comments made before about the cannabis ordinance. We all got this information back on the 11th, two weeks ago, and had a chance to read through it. I read through it in detail. I didn't have any concern. If I did, I would have, raised those concerns then. And that doesn't mean that, don't care about safety of our children and the neighborhood. And I find it offensive that that's the result we come to, that because we don't want a second emotion, to table something that we had 2 weeks to review. You approved it last time, that means that, we don't care about our kids, because it's just not the case. At a certain point, we have the professionals that are paid to put this together. We have to have, a modicum of faith in the administration, to do what's right. And then we review it. And if we have concerns, we can bring it up. I didn't have any concerns, and I look forward to it. And I think the benefits of the town are going to be great. But again, it doesn't mean that, we don't care about the kids. I don't see how we jump from one to the other. When I joined the council a year and a half ago, I had hoped it was going to be, all collaborative and not confrontational. And, there's certainly room for people to respect everybody else's opinions, but, it's, and I like some of the questions that come up, and we don't shoot them all down, but I don't like the method that they're executed. For what it's worth, that's my 2 cents. Echoing the sentiments on the fire department, I've always said that, those volunteers are some of the most dedicated volunteers for anything that we have in a town. I mean, I certainly volunteer my time, not for the fire department. I do it for other things, but I tip my hat to those guys. They are extremely dedicated. They live that life, and somebody has to do it. And thank God we have them to do it. They are to be commended. Memorial Day, I always like to say that Memorial Day should be observed, not celebrated. It always kind of, I cringe when, the fireworks start going off at night. It's not a celebration, it's an observation. So let's just pay the respects to those that have fallen. As far as sports are concerned, I can't believe I already got my recruiting email trying to sign up for ice hockey. I can't believe that is back, Mr. Brooks. So summer ice is back, although I don't have enough insurance to put my kids on ice, so that won't happen. The Rockets have their punt, pass, and kick on June 13th. So that is back at Peterson. Anybody is welcome to do it. We will have the PAL, the challengers will be there. There will be, it's also another chance to sign up for football or cheer, boys or girls. Anybody is welcome to come down for that. Lacrosse will be wrapping up soon. The Romp in the Swamp happening next weekend, the 5th and 6th. What a great job the Renegades have done this year to keep that whole league together. Softball continues. I know playoffs start soon for softball. My daughter, it's her first year playing it in the instructional league. Didn't know what to think going in, but she's already asking about coming back. So again, the softball volunteers are just phenomenal. And that's all I have. Stay safe. Thanks.
Thank you. Mr. Friedlander.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. I'm not muted. Okay. Just a couple things. Just want to say that the library is following New Jersey state protocol, opening up more stations, planning things. The quiet room has looked really nice. You'll see they'll probably post a grand opening for it. The Historical Society is going to have one last probably open house by appointment if you follow their website before construction begins inside. That's a positive move. One other thing, I keep on hearing about the Board of Assessment. I just want to state one thing. I've been in constant contact with members on the board, in constant contact with the attorney that's overseeing this, and we came into some issues that have to be addressed before the meeting. When I said the 26th, that was a tentative date. But things,
Mr. Kelly, you're out of order. You're not recognized.
I don't want to hear from him right now.
Yeah.
I'm just stating fact. It was changed, and Mr. Yachafano can confirm it to possibly a new date. And I just want to say one thing. I'm tired of hearing about the one councilman that's on that system. It has the Board of Assessment, it has nothing to do with that one person. This is an ongoing thing for 20 some odd years. It's going to be addressed when it's right. And that's what it is. Stop it already. You'll hear the meetings and then we'll address it the proper fashion. And again, Memorial Day is coming up. I believe what Mr. Critz said, be respectful. I feel every time, every year, I'm at loss for words because I was named after my father's brother who was shot down in World War II. So I have a lot of family members that survived and have gone through that, and it's a tough day. It's a celebrated day, but like Howard said, be respectful of that time of what people give up in the time of to serve this country. And that's it.
Thanks, Mr. Friedlander. Vice President Sackett.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to address a lie that was stated earlier, that some of us don't care about safety and security of our kids. I'm just reading off quickly a flyer I received, and someone said they championed successful initiative for police security and K-8 schools. I was at that meeting, and certain councilmen wanted to table the appointment of the Class 3 officers. Myself actually championed to push to vote that night for the Class 3 officers, not the person that stated that, Mr. Kelly. So that's a lie. Secondly, I want to thank Councilman Friedlander for your service. So Manny has a nice picture if you haven't seen it from when he served. So thank you, Councilman Friedlander. I want to thank Mayor Puzio. I had a question about the Peterson basketball courts and about the baskets themselves. And a lot of the little kids in town have been asking me about the hoops, stuff like that, and got me the answers so I can tell all the little kids in town who are looking forward to playing basketball on the courts, the specification of the hoops. So thank you for that. It's also good to see the mayor out and various councilmen out at lacrosse events, baseball events over the past few weekends. Getting out, seeing the residents, seeing the kids. It means a lot to them. You know, when I'm coaching, I try to coach and help out when I can. But when other councilmen and the mayor get out, stop by, say hi, you know, the people in town really appreciate that. So thank you for the mayor and various councilmen that I've seen at different sporting events over the past few weeks coming out and saying hi to the kids. Also, looking forward to attending various Memorial Day Memorial Day weekend events Sunday and on Monday. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, just to follow up on what you said, I actually went to a Babe Ruth game at Oak Meadow this weekend, and the field looks great. It's in great shape. It's just really nice up there, up in the hills. And then to piggyback on something else you were talking about. So what I have listed, so on Sunday, May 30th, the White Meadow Lake Department's sunrise service is going to be held at their firehouse at 6 a.m. Fox Hills is having a service at 10 a.m. at the flagpole in the front of the clubhouse. Marcella, there's going to be outdoor services starting at 12:15 at the Union Cemetery, and there's going to be a wreath laying at the community center and the gazebo at Park Lake. And then on Monday, there's going to be a Memorial Day parade in the borough starting at 8:14. Marching will begin at Beach and Main Street and proceed to normal route to the Presbyterian Cemetery for a service.
The gazebo again,
the
Mr.
other-
President? The gazebo?
I'm sorry?
The gazebo again. What was the
The information I have is that there's going to be a wreath laying at the Marcella Community Center and a gazebo at Park Lake.
at the same time they're taking place or one after the other?
I think one after the other. The next thing I just wanted to read, we received an email that was sent, and I think things like this deserve to be read to the public. So this email that was sent to the Chief of Police, Chief McFarland, and the Chief of Police in Rockaway Borough said, "Dear Good Day Chiefs, I want to take a moment to relay to you some events that and actions by your personnel, Rockaway Borough Police Department Patrolman Flynn and Krowiak, and Rockaway Township Police Patrolman Albert, that rise above the meritus. First, my name is Michael Monderone. I'm currently a full-time paramedic for St. Clair's Health, assigned to Medic 55, responding out of Dover Hospital. I've been a paramedic for 15 years in numerous areas of North Jersey and have extensive interactions with law enforcement officers of numerous agencies at all levels, local, county, state, interstate, and federal. On the night of April 28, 2021, your officers performed in a manner I rarely had the opportunity to witness. They were consummate professionals, practiced on their skills, clear in their communication, and worked together towards a singular goal more effectively than I've seen many seasoned teams work. This was all in their efforts to save a critically ill child. Without detailing their individual actions, which would be impossible because they effectively worked as one, they correctly evaluated the patient, supported her weak respiratory efforts, began an amazingly thorough scene survey, determined a probable cause for the current crisis, ensured the proper resources were en route, and developed a backup plan should those resources be delayed. This was all accomplished within the 7 minutes from my dispatch center receiving the call and our arrival on scene. They weren't done either. Once we arrived, your officers were in the ambulance assisting us with the resuscitation and gathering pertinent information from an understandably distraught mother. For these officers, above and beyond was merely a starting point. Their efforts that night helped save a baby. A baby from your community will now have a chance to grow up and live her life because of the efforts of these men. I get chills every time I read that. In this day and age where law enforcement is seen as the bad guy by many, the performance of these men on that night has undeniably cast the most favorable light on your profession, your departments, and themselves as officers and as men. I don't know specifics of your individual departments, awards process, but I believe actions are truly warrant whatever life-saving award you can grant. Sincerely yours, Michael Mondrone. So I just wanted to read that, and for members of the public who might not have heard about this. So just a fantastic job. So with that said, we'll go on to reports.
Council President, I'm really
Yeah.
sorry to interrupt, but we have the date wrong for the sunrise service at White Meadow Lake.
Okay.
It will be on, it'll be Monday, May 31st at 6 a.m.
Okay, there you go, everybody. With that said, Mayor, we'll go to your report.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. I want to echo those sentiments.
You're echoing for some reason.
Can you hear me? Is it a little bit clearer?
Yeah, you're breaking up. You're kind of breaking up. Like on a chair. Yeah, that's better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. I want to echo those sentiments. Our police department, our first responders, our EMS, our fire. This is just one instance of the tremendous job that they do. I read that email and it gave me chills as well. You don't realize how much of an impact that they have on, in both good and, and bad sometimes on an individual's life. And this is a just a tremendous job by all of those officers involved. Thank you is really what it comes down to. And that's certainly not enough. I just wanted to address a few things. I'm going to be brief. Last week we had a representative from the fire department. He spoke in the public portion. He had a couple issues, which caused me to have a meeting with our fire director and our fire chief and our chief. I just want to quickly address the generator issue. We have 27 generators in town, and quarterly, the town does maintain them. Our personnel, they make sure that they're fueled properly. They do change batteries. Over the years, we do have preventative maintenance. The point that I'm trying to make is that there's 27 generators in town. So with any mechanical item, sometimes there's failures. I can tell you this, at no point was there any danger to us getting a truck out of a fire truck to respond to a call or any of that. I want to remind you that we have multiple firehouses in town. So if one firehouse doesn't respond, there's always another one that will give mutual aid. And I think Chief Aragona described that. We've never had an issue where a generator, whether it was a malfunction, whether it was operated correctly, or the technology isn't there, if there's a brownout per se, where that generator wouldn't fully take over. Not every system is perfect, but we do maintain those generators. Secondly, if you do, this is just something that I want to remind you of. If you want to change an ordinance or the language within an ordinance, one of our councilmen tonight brought up security, to have the chief of police do a monthly report. Well, that would have been inappropriate. The chief of police does not do reports to the council. So it's best, if you want to make changes, if you.
Mr. Kelly, you're out of order.
I'm trying.
Mr. Kelly, you're out of order.
I didn't ask that.
Mr. Kelly, you're out of order.
Can I continue, Council President?
Yes, you can.
Thank you. My point being is that if you want to make changes to an ordinance, they have to be sound. They can't be defective. Our form of government has certain rules and regulations. It's not, I didn't create it. I follow the rules. So if you want to change language or have any ideas, once again, contact the administration, give us a reasonable amount of time to look it up, to make sure that we're acting appropriately and that the language is, we're able to change it. I want to thank you for passing this ordinance tonight. We were under time constraints with the recreational ordinance for cannabis. We had to have something into the state or have something in place, or else we would have given up our ability to control the situation that would take place in town. The state, if we didn't put something in place, an ordinance or a framework, the state would come in and institute their own framework. That's what I was, that's my understanding of this. Also, Mr. Kelly brought up at the last meeting, he wanted to name Peterson Field after our late mayor, Michael Datchison. I didn't even bother exploring that with the attorneys. I spoke with the family. They do not want that. They're they're ecstatic about having the basketball courts named after, our late mayor, Mike. And they do not want the field named after Peterson. They said that that's Peterson's field. And they also wanted me to convey to you, to all of the council people who supported the improvements, thank you. Mike had started these with the parking lot, the concession stand, and we were moving along. We had a little hiccup, but now I feel that we're back on track. And they wanted to thank the council people that supported these initiatives. We're going to be having I'm in the process of working on another Table of Hope event. So if anyone wants to come out from the council when we get that up and going, I got to work out the details, but I'm trying to do something possibly. It's not solidified in July. As we get closer, I will, I'll fill you in as to the particulars. And I want to wish everyone, a relaxing Memorial Day, and please reflect on, on the sacrifices of those that served. My father was in the Navy. All of my uncles were served in World War II. And without them, we wouldn't have these, council meetings. We wouldn't have the ability to speak. And tomorrow is the paving of the basketball courts down at Peterson. So we're getting close. We're getting there. Like I said, we have to eat this elephant one bite at a time. Peterson is a big project. We do have an overall idea of how we want to proceed, and we're just doing it reasonably. We're doing it a section year by year, examining our funds, making sure that we're doing it prudently and that we're doing it fiscally responsible, and making sure that the project gets done right with input from different folks who are actually involved in recreation. So I want to thank you, and I want to wish everybody, happy Memorial Day, and hopefully you have an enjoyable weekend. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Yachifano, do you have a report tonight?
No report, Council President.
Okay, Mrs. Seeger.
Yes, Council President. I think that the mayor hit on the generator, but I also wanted to explain that they're brownouts, and that's why the generators didn't completely kick on because all the electricity wasn't out. We had the same problem in the garage the same day that Mount Hope did. And half the lights were on in the garage and the other half wasn't. And the generator gets stuck in between because it's not a complete blackout. And they are being taken care of. And I just wanted to touch base on, someone said that they put in a rebate, the fireman that was on last week. And the reason his rebate took a little bit longer, it wasn't to him personally. He has a company and it was to his company, and he didn't put the bill in to the end of 2018 when our system is shut down for auditing and the end of the year. And as soon as we opened up in January, he was issued January 25th, he was issued a purchase order, and he was paid on February 11th. And that's pretty quick when you have to go through it, and his company had to be added. If he had done the refund to his name, he would have got paid sooner because we had all his information, because he's paid as a fire chief and assistant fire chief when he was back then. So I just wanted to say that our finance department is very on top of it. Our administration moves POs very quickly. The mayor comes in whenever we ask him to come in and sign everything. So there really is no delay, and the finance company does do a good job. And that was never brought to administration's attention. And I want to say there are many nonprofits, but most of the nonprofits that we deal that are free, like the nonprofit for sports groups, it has to be a 501c3, not just a not-for-profit, because there's a lot of not-for-profits, but they're not tax deductible. And then the other thing I want to say, the website will be updated with Memorial Day events. I'm sorry that it wasn't. And I wish everybody a great Memorial Day weekend. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you. Ms. Ferrante.
Yes, two quick items. Thank you, Council President. As the mayor touched on, tomorrow we will be paving the basketball courts. However, they are not open. Same with the tennis courts. So they need a little bit of time to off gas and sit and settle before we apply the top acrylic coat. So any assistance to keep the public and our children out of this area would be greatly appreciated. And the second item, I'm sure you've seen the signs out on Mount Hope Avenue. The county has kindly decided to do the milling and paving at night. Due to our longstanding working relationship with Morris County Engineering, they have acknowledged our request to minimize interruption to our community. And beginning June 1st, they will be working at night, 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. on the milling and paving, and it's anticipated to last about 2 weeks. And that's it.
Okay, Mrs. Palmieri.
No report. Just want to wish everyone a happy and safe Memorial Day. Thank you.
Mr. Dyer.
No report, Council President.
Okay. At that point, can I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Quinn, second. Mr. Brooks, second. All in favor? Aye. Meeting's adjourned at 7:50. Have a safe Memorial Day, everyone. Hope to see you guys out there.
Thank you.
You too, guys.